Okay, so I've got my narration and my voiceover here for the story itself for my podcast, and I'm realizing I want some better music, I want some better sound effects. So one way we can do that is we can actually go into YouTube. You already have a YouTube account because you have a Google account at this point from previous projects. So you click here, choose YouTube. And once you're in YouTube, you can actually click on the little face if you have a face uploaded, otherwise it'll just be generic. And what you want to do is scroll down to YouTube Studio Beta. Go ahead and click there. And once you've done that, you can click on Other Features, scroll down to where you see Audio Library. Now, the audio library is all free music that you can use for any projects that you're working on. And you'll notice we have free music and we have the option of sound effects. And when you're going through, you can actually sort by genre, mood, instrument, how long it is, the type of attribution. Attribution not required just means you don't need to put any information in your podcast about where you got the music or sound effects. Attribution required will have some requirement for mentioning the person's name, letting people know where you got that sound. So you can actually go through and you can either search music if there's something very specific you want. The other thing is you can just press play and listen to a track. It's a very dramatic feel. If I happen to like it, I come over here and I click the download button. I'm going to listen to a few more. I think this might work for me, so I'm going to go ahead and download it. Now the other thing I'm going to do is look up a few sound effects because I'd love some outdoorsy sounds. So we've got afternoon crickets here. I don't really like that, so I'm going to put in forest. It's a little wind. Oh, here's hiking in the forest. All right, we'll download that. Okay, so we've downloaded a few different things, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close out of Google for now. And it's really important when you go into your downloads folder, that's where all these sounds are going to have downloaded to, whether you're on a PC or Mac. And what you want to make sure you do is that you open another Finder window and navigate to the folder that you're saving all your sounds in. So for me, it's in my video lessons, Adobe Audition Practice Audio. You actually want to move these sounds over to your folder before you bring them into Audition, because you want everything in one place, especially if you're going to move from one computer to another. It just makes it easier and you don't accidentally delete anything at all. So now that I've gone and I've moved them into my folder, I can do File Import just like I have before and bring those files in. And I can start playing with them in my project. So let's go ahead and we'll bring in our bunny hop song. I'm going to bring it down to the music bed track.
Thanks. Enjoy.
All right.
Little pigs. Enjoy.
All right, I like it. So I'm going to start my voiceover just after this first section of the song. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring the volume down, but I think what I might do is just bring it down to about negative 22-ish decibels and allow it to play under the voiceover and see how it sounds.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs who went out into the world to seek their fortune. The first little pig set off through the fields. He met a man carrying a bundle of straw. "Please, sir, will you give me some straw so that I can build myself a house?" "As much as you need, little pig."
So, one of the things I don't like is that the mic on the iPhone isn't as great as I would love it to be, and so you've got a lot of my breathing in sounds. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete those, again using my razor blade tool. And instead of bringing my audio together, I'm just going to leave those areas blank. And because I have music playing underneath, you're not going to be startled by a sudden lack of sound. So let's go ahead and delete those and I'll show you what it sounds like.
First little pig set off through the fields. He met a man carrying a bundle of straw. Please, sir, will you give me some straw so that I can build myself a house? As much as you need, little pig. The man gave the straw to the little pig, and the little pig built himself a straw.
So you can see how much better that sounds. And then the other option I can do is to add in some of these sounds here. So I've got hiking in the forest. I can toss this down here.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs who went out into the world to seek their fortune. The first little pig set off through the fields. He met a man.
So what I can do is I can actually move some of this story down a little bit. So we'll zoom out. And I can have the sound of him walking through the forest happen a little bit before we get into the next section of the story. So let's listen.
To seek their fortune. They set off through the fields. He met a man carrying a bundle of straw. Please, sir, will you give me some straw so that I can build myself a house? As much as you need, little pig. The man gave the straw to the little pig, and the little pig built himself a straw house.
Okay, and that's where I can actually add some sound of a straw house being built. So as I go through and I find areas where I can add in sound effects, I can just go over to YouTube, grab the appropriate sound effects, and throw them in there. Now, right now I only have 1 track for sound effects, but I can always add more. So if you go up into multi-track up here and you choose tracks, and I can actually add a stereo track right below here. And it's called track 2 right now, but I can just do SFX 2. So I've got some more sound effects, and this is where I can maybe throw some owls hooting in there.
The first little pig set off through the fields. He met a man carrying a bundle of straw.
Okay. I'm going to delete some of this owl hooting. Now the other thing we haven't really covered is just bringing the volume up for a particular track. If you click and drag up on that yellow volume line, you can actually bring the volume up for each of those sections.
The first little pig set off through the fields. He met a man carrying a bundle of straw. Please, sir, will you give me some straw so that I...
The other thing you can do is the pan option. And what pan does is it allows you to create sort of that stereo effect. It makes it sound like something's coming from the left speaker to the right or vice versa. So it's especially great if you have like a car driving by or an airplane taking off. You can have it so that the pan starts over on the left side and then ends on the right side. So it looks like a diagonal. And so it'll go from the left speaker to the right speaker as it goes across. Now, if I press this S button, what that does is it'll allow me to just listen to this one track. Do you see how everything else gets grayed out? So I'll go ahead and listen. And if you look at the VU meters, you can see that we go from hearing everything on the left channel to the right channel. And in between, it gets right about even. Okay, so that's one way to use the pan. I'm going to unclick the solo. The other thing you can do is you can actually mute individual tracks. And as you do that, they'll gray out. So if you're trying to listen to one particular thing, soloing a track makes it really easier, just muting some individual tracks. And the other thing is just once you've got enough audio built up, make sure that your levels down here at the bottom VU meter are still bouncing between -6 and -12 when you add up all these other sounds. So let's take a listen where we've got a bunch of sounds layered together.
The first little pig set off through the fields. He met a man carrying a bundle of straw. Please.
And that looks pretty good. So once you've done all this and you've completed your podcast, you're happy with your sound effects, you're going to export the project. So go ahead and watch the next video for how to export.